This is a movie review of They Shall Not Grow Old by Peter Jackson. I watched this movie this weekend, and it's one of the most amazing movies I've ever seen. If you don't know about this movie, it's about the First World War, and they have taken old documentary footage and remastered it with color, corrected the frame speed and everything, and added sound. And there's so many amazing things about this movie, and there's a cool bunch of clips on YouTube where Peter Jackson's telling how they made this story. But I mean, just one thing: if you know these old black and white movies from from the beginning of the century, you know that they're moving a bit faster, and it's also the frame rate goes up and down because the cameras were run by manual. They were rolling the movie by hand. So that's the speed is not constant, it's fluctuating. So they had to realign the speed so it's correct, and I guess maybe they used also some kind of smoothing there to increase the frame rate because it's moving smoothly. And then they had to color everything. And yeah, of course, those things are impressive. But for a guy like me that's a real sound nerd, what really caught my attention was the attention to detail with sound. I mean, these were mute, they were silent movies back then. So what they did is that they hired professional lip readers who watched these old documentary footage, and they read the lips of the soldiers. And then they did research and found out which company were these guys from, what was their accent. And they found the correct Scottish accent or from other places in the UK. And then they found voice actors who mimicked the script that the lip readers produced. I mean, it's mind-boggling what a work must have gone into this. But it brings these old movies to life. And you see these young boys. I mean, some of them were as old, 15 years. It's like it's kids who were fighting in the trenches. It's beyond horrible. And this movie, it brings them to life. It brings history to life. I was just looking like this because I was so amazed how they can do such a thing with a movie like this. And I mean, also, I mean, to recreate the sound of the guns is not an easy task. A good friend of mine is working with the sound design and the Battlefield computer games. So I've heard some stories from him how it's actually done to recreate old sounds, because Battlefield 1 is also about the First World War. And I mean, they had to literally go to museums and fire up some old tank or find some guns in museums and take them to a shooting range and record them. And then Peter Jackson in his videos, he describes they did similar things now with this movie when they recreated everything. And they had, like when you have a big howitzer cannon and you fire it, you have lots of microphones close to the cannon to pick up the sound from different moving parts. And it's like boom, and everything, and it comes back. And you can't just put one microphone. There's loads of microphones, and there's microphones at different distances from these guns, because depending on where the camera is recording the gun that is firing, you need to have the microphone distance correct. And sometimes the movie is capturing, you know, this that kind of sound. And then they had to put microphones down a shooting range, a very, very long range, to capture the sound when a projectile was flying overhead, and then when it comes down and it falls down. So it was a war of artillery, this First World War. But this movie is almost like going into a time machine, because they've done such an amazing job with it. And I mean, one of the scenes that is also really mind-blowing is that there's this officer who is holding a speech before his soldiers. I think it's in the Battle of the Somme, when they're gonna go out and become cannon fodder, these poor boys. But he's holding a speech to them, and he has this note that he's reading from. And that it's kind of bad quality in the movie, so you can't really read the lips. Not enough, at least. So they went to the archives and trying to find what kind of motivational speeches did these officers give to their soldiers. And they were looking around, and they could identify the people in the movie and try to go to the correct place in the archives. And they found a speech which they said, this could be it. And they started to voice record it. Peter Jackson did it himself on his iPhone, actually. And stretched it and cut and paste and put it in the right. And see, yeah, this might be it. So they actually could recreate the speech with a voice actor. And it's... if you're interested in history, you need to see this movie right now. It's, yeah, I loved it. It was fantastic. And also if you're, yeah, just see this movie, because the First World War, I don't think most of us know that much about that war, but it's shaping a big part of our daily life and our history right now. I mean, it was a big precursor to the horrible catastrophe of the Second World War that followed. So this is where they set the stage, so we need to know about the history back then also. Yeah, that's my movie review. I give it 5 thumbs up of 5 possible. Have a nice day.